Well, I could tell a big story about this one. At one point in time, we had about a 6-foot I don't know what they call it. It was all supposedly automatic at that time. And you could play all your records on, and you could do, I don't know if you could do the small ones or not, but it was pretty nice. So David got nearly ready to leave. Well, he was moved downstairs, and I go down there one day, or go in the room where it was in the playroom, and speakers are gone. And then next day or two, they were out in the garage, hooked up to, I don't know, cable. I think some of them are still down there. I'm not even sure.
They're going in the yard sale.
They were all put back.
They're probably going to the yard sale.
They're going in the yard sale.
Oh, they're going in the yard sale. Okay.
June 11th.
Well, that makes me feel better. We finally got
13th, the 11th, 12th, and 13th, 14th, 15th. She don't know yet.
Well, he was going to put it all back together. That had to be a lot of years ago, and so they're going in the yard sale.
I don't know for sure. You just know how
They're
she's.
still up there, but I don't.
Those
I always wondered what they were
speakers
for.
that belonged in that unit
over there.
were put back before that unit left.
Your voice sounds very defensive right now, and if you're getting that upset about it, I feel
Well,
like
I mean,
it's still
it
there.
was given to Mark and Brenda Curley, and when it showed up at their house, they were playing it. If they weren't in there, doesn't look to me like it would have worked.
Well, pardon me, part of the story wasn't exactly accurate.
I did take them out and use them, but I put them back.
Well, later on, here's some old ones. There's Elvis, you know, you like him. There's one of your daughter in here, Debbie. And I don't know what song it's. Debbie singing. Don't ask me.
I mean, where did she dig up all
Yeah,
this
but it
stuff?
plays
In the
all that.
basement.
Yeah, it
I know.
plays 45s. It plays like 33 and a third. Wasn't that what it was? 75. The tapes and albums. That's what's up. Yeah, and Danny and Jamie Shelton already tried it out. He put
Does it
some
play
in.
8 tracks?
No, that was not on there. Sorry. I didn't have any of those things.
No errors.
And there's also
We
one.
got some up at the plant. You can come borrow them.
Oh Lord, they're probably
Some of the tallies are there, and then also, like the cathedrals. And Crystal Senior is here now.
Ooh.
They did all that.
I could jam out to some Crystal Senior.
Beth Holt.
Oh man.
There's a lot of tapes downstairs.
Can anybody get a
And
bonfire
here's
going?
Elvis in Clown Bacon. I don't even remember that movie. That definitely had to be before. I know it's before my time.
That's something I probably bought on
You
sale.
and I think you and yeah, you and I think you and them.
Bucket shop and dime.
That's an old one. That's an old movie.
Yeah, this was at this county price.
Clam bake.
It was a regular $4.79 for $4.47.
Take a lot of money.
That dates me. Yeah, it was a lot of money.
All right, Mallory, go ahead.
Try it.
Maybe you should start out by saying where you're from, because some people might not know.
Where I'm from.
Yeah, what about your mom and daddy growing up? Tell a little bit about that.
Well, my mom was born in Minor Hill and grew up there. My dad was raised up down between Savannah and out toward Florence. And he was doing something in Waterloo, and Mom got a job when she got out of college and went to Waterloo, and that's how they met. Now that's about all I know about that story.
But like, what about whenever you were growing up? What did they do? Was she a homemaker? And he.
She was a school teacher, and Dad always, he worked, when I was born in Sheffield, Alabama, and he was driving a think it's a city bus between Sheffield, Florence somewhere. And so I was born there. Then we moved to Huntsville, and he worked at Redstone. But he wasn't connected to them. He had some kind of other job down there. And I remember we lived in two different places in Huntsville. I can remember both of them. We moved back to Minor Hill when I was 4, but one of them was there in town basically, and the other was down on Whitesburg Pike. And as far as I know, the last time it was a little black school right up behind our house. And as far as I know, that is still there, and the house is still there. But it probably would take me a while to find it, because everything grown up. And when we lived there, it just fields. And one house where we lived, and way down another one, and one way down across the road. And that was about it.
So how'd y'all finally end up in Minor Hill? Or where did you go next? Didn't you live in Leicester for a while?
Live where?
Leicester?
No,
No.
no.
That's where the
Somebody
hospital was.
Did you ask me that?
I think I've asked you that. You're born in I thought you lived there at some point.
Texas?
Alabama.
No, we lived,
Did you ask me that?
like I said, we lived in Sheffield, and then we moved to, Dad and Mom moved to Huntsville. We lived two places there. Dad got called in the service in 45, I believe, 44 or 5. And then Mom and Pat and myself moved back to Minor Hill and lived there with my grandmother at her house till Dad got out of the service.
How long was he in the service?
A couple of years maybe.
Did he go overseas?
No, he got in kind of as things were winding down in World War II.
Uh-huh.
So he was stationed in, I believe it was Fort Benning. It was in Georgia. I think Fort Benning.
And he got out of the service what year?
What?
What year did he get out of the service? Did you already answer that?
Well, is it 2 years?
I'm thinking it was 45 or 46, and he must have gone in about 44. He wasn't in there. I'm gonna say 2 years maybe.
I was just trying to think the timeline from starting the business from after he got out of the service to starting.
Well, that wasn't until 52, was it?
I don't
Schooled
know.
you
Well,
on Franksville and history.
He worked for
Got a T-shirt.
Valentine
I'm
Auto
learning
Parts
something.
in Pulaski, who had I guess you'd liken it a little bit to Gibson's. And they sold auto parts, and Dad sold those around different places. And he worked with them for a year or two. And then he started a business running a truck. They would have been about the size of our vans. But he had a maid down in down in Salem. There was a place down there that made beds, and he would buy the truck. They would put the bed on it, and he started out I don't think it's about 47, and we would go to Nashville every Saturday. We'd get up about 4 o'clock, which I hated that part of it, but I loved going to Nashville. Now y'all talk about
That's because you got to drive illegally.
what?
That's because you got to drive illegally.
After I got older, but not at that time, because I wasn't. When I started going with him on that truck, I was 7 or 8 years old, and of course I couldn't drive. Now Ross would let me drive his vehicle sitting in his lap, and he had to have the foot on the brake and accelerator because I couldn't reach it. But I was doing the steering wheel, and he was steering me there once in a while to make sure.
No, to Minor Hill.
It's before the interstate.
It was Minor Hill. Uncle Ross.
But
You take a look.
But we would go to Nashville, and Dad would start out on at a place called Tip Top it was up on 2nd Avenue, nearly at the top of the hill, going up 2nd toward it wasn't the Capitol Board. I can't remember the street that's up there at the top of the hill, but he would go up there, or go there first, and then he would give me usually $1 or $2, and I would always go uptown. Now, we was talking a while ago, you wouldn't let the kid do this now. You were talking about that going down to the store. And I would go uptown Nashville. Sometimes I would have a friend, sometimes I wouldn't. It was 2 different guys, maybe 3 that went with me sometimes, but not real regular. And I would know where Dad was going to end up. He had 3 or 4 places, and I knew where every one of them was and knew how to get back to them walking. And I would go to Crystal and eat hamburgers 2 or maybe 3 times. I forgot what they were, 12 cents or a dime or something like that. I'd go to 2 movies, which there was 6. I knew where all the theaters were. And then he usually ended up I can't remember the name of the place where he ended up. Sometimes he would end up down at D.C. Lovelace, where we put the candy and all that. We had the truck packed full. Just barely could usually get the door open. And then we'd come back to Minor Hill, and he had that warehouse that was at the top of the hill, which has been torn down, but it's right there by where the post office is. And it was my job, and with some help, we got the truck unloaded with all the stuff. Of course, Dad had some other stuff in there that he used every day. So we would get all the product out and get it in the warehouse. By probably after a couple of years, he had 2 and then 3 at one time, and I think at one time he got 4 people that they had their own trucks, but they came in and got product from him, and they had a deal that I never did know what it was, but they worked country stores too. So it was country stores, it's called, and they would, one of them would go one direction, another one somewhere else. One guy lived down in Alabama, so he worked down in that area. And we did that. He bought the first cigarette machines in 50, I think it was late 51. I always say it was 52 because it was late in the year. And he bought 5 or 10, I can't remember. And that's how he got started. And then he bought, there's a guy in Columbia had about 8 or 10 in Pulaski. He bought those, and then he'd buy 5 or 10 as we could figure out where to go and try to locate them. He and I'd go to Centerville. He had a guy he knew, and he wanted to go to Centerville. Why, I don't know, but he wanted to come over and put
I still ask that
in.
question.
Why?
But those people over there,
That's it.
and I worked a route over there for several years, and they were, I got to the point I felt like I could have probably stayed over there if I didn't have a way to get home, and somebody would put me up and feed me and all that. It was just the kind of relationship. Now Rob, I don't know about him. He looked at his face.
I got a certain restaurant owner that might take me in and feed me some barbecue.
We're pretty much adopted
Yeah,
kids.
mostly. They give us cookies sometimes.
But vending, I always say 52 because it was probably November, December when he got those first cigarette machines of 51. But I went we'd go on Saturday. I remember he ordered 10 machines, and these were ones you had a bottom, and you had ones you had to put up on the stand, load the machine, make sure it was working. Cigarettes were a quarter. We went to Centerville, and Bob, the guy that had the restaurant, he told Dad, he said, come over and we'll locate it. And we located 8 in Centerville that day, or well, we located them a week or 2 or 3 before, so we knew what to order. And we went back through Hohenwald, and we had 2 locations. One was called General Cafe, and the other was Snip, Snap, and Bite. And that was the name of the 2 locations. And over time, we got more locations over in Centerville and more in Hohenwald, and that's how we ended up in that direction.
So you never had another job besides doing this?
No, because I was always with him. It was, if I was in school, I went to school, and when I got out, I would be with him on, you know, go help him. If he happened to go on vacation, which was rare, but I had an aunt, her name was Tenny, and not her husband was Ross. One of them would take me to Pulaski, and it was 2 or 3 locations that had to be worked while he might be gone. And I was probably 12, I don't know. And I would.
Where was he going on vacation and just leaving you?
Hey,
going on vacation?
Don't ask that question.
Don't ask questions.
Now Grandbobby does it.
Where he liked to go, and that's where they usually went, was Hot Springs, Arkansas. And he loved to go out there for some reason. His mom would go there, and most of the time they'd stay about a week. And I'd catch anything that had to be caught. So I was always busy doing something. But when we'd get back from Nashville, I was going to say a while ago, it was my job at his old country store that had shelves running down both sides. And it had a rolling stair that you could climb up on and put stock. It was a high ceiling. And that's where I learned, and y'all have heard me say this, have been around me. You did it right the first time with Dad. David can attest to this. You did it right the first time. You learned if you put something up and there was 2 records there, you didn't do them this way. You put them there, you made sure that on the end you could tell everything was there like that, and you'll see me go out there occasionally and do chips like that. You cornered those boxes so they were.
I wonder where you got that from.
Yeah.
I was about to say, someone just like the grandfather.
He was a master teacher, but he could do it in such a way you just came to that knowledge real quick. I think it'll be easier just to go ahead and do it right. David can tell you one of his if he wants to about
This is your day.
You can tell a story about him.
Well, David, we sold a lot of soup. We had a few soup machines around in some of our industrial accounts, and that was before food, so we sold quite a bit of it. It was in a machine that heated it, and if you left it in there too long, it was not good. Cans would swell, burst. You had to go through all that to get them out. But when we got soup in, we get 768 cases. I remember that. And you bought them, and we had to unload them all by hand out of the truck. And Dad had all that glass area down there. Well, as you went in the basement, they were right on the right, and you had to hand stack them all in there. And all of us knew, put it in there right. But one day, David, and I don't know who else was helping him, turned one upside down. Now, I don't think I knew this till later on, and I've heard David tell it several times. Dad walked out there and he said, he'd look usually and he'd say, I think we got one turned upside down. And that's about all he'd say. You just knew, okay. And it was right close to the bottom always. It never would be on top. Well, David tried to explain to Dad, and he got it down. He said, Granddad said, no, it was open, I think is what you said. And Dad goes and gets a roll of tape and brought it back and handed it to him. He said, that's why we've got this. So David tears it down, and what he had done, he had turned it over so the soup wouldn't fall out when somebody reached to get it and pick it up. But he had to tape it up and tape it so he could lay it back the right way so it was in the stack right. But
How old were you at this time?
Old enough to know better.
12, 14, something like that.
you got a lot of good lessons. It was he could I don't know how to describe it, but he was always said he was a master teacher because he wanted it done right. He wanted it done right the first time. And you came to that knowledge pretty quick if you worked around it. You do it right one time, you don't have to redo it. And I remember one night we wouldn't get through till about 12, 1 o'clock unloading that truck when we come back from Nashville. And there was two stories there. Dad always had a great sense of humor, rather tease somebody as to eat. And one of the guys that went to Nashville with us that day, he was out there and we had BB bats. I don't know whether anybody ever heard of them or remember them or not. Heavy. And I think we had 6 cases on a 2-wheeler. And it was all, we couldn't hardly break them over to roll them in. And somebody may have come and helped us, I don't remember. We finally got them rolled in. Well, Dad comes out there in a minute. He looks at the guy was with him, his name was Junior, and he said, Junior said, I can't believe that's got a low tire. What do you think? Or it might have been when we broke them over. And he said, yes, sir. Said, I'll go over here to the station here in a minute and I'll air it up. Well, it was solid rubber tires. And Junior goes over there and he's trying, everybody's standing out there looking at him, and he's trying to find out where he put the air. Of course, there was nowhere to put there. And everybody just died laughing. Well, he knew he'd been had. He comes on back. He took it well, but that was just things that went on.
What year did the business move to the bottom of the hill?
You talking about the Rains house after?
Mm-hmm.
We ran out of his house at Minor Hill for till 61, and he moved over there in that house in 61.
Okay. Did he build it?
Robert Brindley had sold him the house that we lived in first out there. You know where that was? It was the third house up, I believe, or fourth.
Okay. On that same side of the road?
Mm-hmm. No, it was when you turn the first street and go up, you had the Gowans, Benny Gowan,
The Browns first.
had that beige looking house.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was next. And Dad and Robert got to talking, and Dad was going to buy it and add on to it. And it was next to Mr. and Ms. What was their name? They've been dead several years. That lived next to us. Birdsong. And it was the house next to it.
Okay.
And anyway, Robert was building that one for himself. And Dad liked it because it had the basement. He got talking to Robert. Robert said, hey, I'll sell you that and I'll go across over here and build me another. Now he built the one with rock walls.
Mm-hmm.
And Dad just kept adding on he built the carport on the end and built all the glass and put all that. So that was a long process. He actually moved. He moved there in 61, and then Robert sold your mom and I the house that he was going to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So we lived there for when David and Debbie were small, and every time it'd come a storm, lightning would come in. One night it was like I was in the bed and lightning hit something and turned the light on in the kitchen. I remember that. And I was just like a cartoon character, I think. I jumped out the end of the bed, just leaped out, and went running in there because I thought something was on fire. And after that, I decided we got to do something. I don't like this, and so we bought that lot across the street and built there.
Huh.
And that was in 60. I want to say it was 63.
What year did the vending where you are now, what year was that building? Did y'all move to that?
We moved out there in 84. Dad died in 82. I remember telling Mom, Dad wouldn't talk about moving. He just would not. You just insult him if you brought it up. So usually we had less than 2 minute conversation about thinking about it. And after Dad died, I told Mom, I said, I don't know how or when or if we can ever do this, but we've got to get out of this house somehow, because it was very difficult. Somebody had to be there 24/7 just because of the way it was, and so one morning one of the guys came in. I heard him talking to somebody else and said, and actually I bought the property down there at the commissary and was thinking about, and had Brenda was already well in the plan for building out in that between it and the church. And I told them to design the style of the building it was a Crockett feed store, the thing where we are now. And they had it pretty well drawn out. And one of the guys, I heard him telling somebody, said, well, her Crockett feed store's up for sale. Well, it hadn't been there but probably less than 2 years. And I didn't know the guy or anything anyway. Ended up out there, talked to him. He said, well, I'll tell you how I'm going to do it. I'm not going to live with one person at a time. I got one in front of him. If he don't take it, I'll call you. And so I said, okay. So going back out to the office, and I thought, well, we need to know if it's going to work. So I got Billy and Mitchell, I think it was, and we went out there and looked it over and decided if we could make it work. And he called me in a few days, and he said, and he told me, so know what I want for it. I'm not going to, that's what I want. So, okay. Well, I'd been thinking what I thought it was worth. And when I went out there and we started talking, he said, well, here's what I want. And I thought, well, that's just exactly what I've been thinking it was worth. So we didn't even differ with this.
You remember how much that was?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, just for this time.
Building, I think there was $250 when we bought it.
God. You couldn't get that for anywhere close to that. Wow.
200.
And that was like
$2.50.
Why did I get that off?
250,000.
Nobody else was gonna ask that but me, so
That's okay.
That was a
Is
lot
it
of
though?
money.
Is it?
It is a lot of money. Yeah.
So, what year did you have spinal meningitis? I was a little girl.
The what?
What year did you have spinal meningitis?
I had spinal meningitis. I believe it was, pretty sure it was like September of '66.
I was 3. I remember going to see you when I was 3, taking you apples and oranges.
Oh.
Where were you in the hospital? I never knew.
Giles County,
Oh, really?
The old one.
The old one.
the old hospital. And the strange thing about it was, and I don't mean this wrong or be talking about anybody, well, I won't call the name, I won't talk about them, but I had been to the doctor on Friday, and I just hadn't felt good for 2 or 3 days. I think I'd been in the hospital the week before, and Dr. A.G. was our doctor, and he was out. The reason I went to a different doctor on Friday. and he had me on a liquid diet, and I don't know, I stayed in the hospital that weekend 2 or 3 days, and I got out. I remember I didn't have any energy. It was just like, and by Thursday, I had to run a route over in Hohenwald, and I remember pulling up to a curb and bumping the curb before I realized it. I knew my reactions were way off. I couldn't write correctly. I still claim today that's why I can't write, is because at that time I thought I had a fairly good handwriting, but it's just like nothing worked right. And Mitchell and I were working Friday morning in town, and Dad and Tommy May were working in town. And Mitchell and I think we got to one stop, or maybe it was the first stop, and I said, Mitch, I just can't go. I gotta go home. And so we went and found Dad and Tommy, and they said, that's fine, just go ahead and we'll finish up. Well, I went home, laid down on the couch. We were living, before we moved up on top of the hill, we were living there, and I just stayed on the couch. It came in off up the steps into the den. And Dad came out there, he got through, and he said, you need to go to the doctor. And I said, I'll be okay. Now, he insisted I go to the doctor, so I went. And literally that night, I don't think I could ever describe how bad that felt. That I was sick, I was throwing up, I was this far from the commode and had to get down and just get myself off the bed. And Nell was trying to help, and I would have to crawl to the commode. I didn't have the strength to get up there. Well, she kept trying to get me to call Dad, and let's go on emergency room. I said, I'm not going to call the doctor this time of the night. And this went on all night, basically. But I was ready by the next morning. I knew I had to do something. So she called Dad, and he came by, and we ended up going to the old hospital. And I remember when I walked in, my head was kind of like that. I was kind of looking at the ceiling, and it was just kind of pulled back a little bit. And I remember going in wherever he was going, and they called the doctor that I had gone to the day before, and for whatever reason, he chose not to come over there. And Dad had Dr. Owen as his doctor, and he saw him, and he asked him to check on me. And all I remember him walking in, he looked at me, and he said, this boy is sick. And I seem to remember something about a spinal tap, or whatever, they had to draw spinal fluid off of checking that. And that was on Saturday morning, and I don't remember anything else. The next Saturday, it was nearly dark, that I don't remember anything. Mm-hmm. And I know Nell was having she came in, she had to wear all this stuff, go home, put all her clothes in the washing dryer, and do all that. And they were giving me, it was 8 or 10 bottles of penicillin. And they had the highway patrolmen were going back. I didn't know this till after the fact, but they were going from town to town, or meeting up with somebody and bringing those, because they didn't use that much in it. They told me later, a bottle or two, and I've forgotten how many, but I had, and they were tough shots. They put them in your arm, and they had these big needles and put them in there, and my arm was so sore. And I remember the last one I took, they'd always tell me, make sure it's in the vein. Make sure it's in the vein. You gonna wish you had it if you don't. And I knew the last one they was gonna give me. They told me I was gonna get to go home. It was after 2 weeks. And I thought, it's not in there, but I'm not telling them. And I didn't, but I paid for it. because it stung and burned and bad. But that was 2 weeks, and it probably took me, I would be 7 or 8 months probably before I got back to, and I never did have reflexes. I mean, that weren't the same. I know we were playing basketball. I was probably in as good a physical shape as I'd ever been. And I remember going out one night, and we were playing out at Bodenham, I think, that night. And I said, yeah, and Dr. Owens already told me, he said, you're not going to play this year. That's the first thing I remember asking him after I came to and figured out what was going on. He said, you can't. I said, I didn't tell him, but I thought, yeah, I'll be playing. I couldn't, but one night I was going to just see, and I knew what I needed to do. Couldn't do it. If I need to move this way, I got to move that way. And it just wasn't there. I played a little after that, not a lot, but
That's how Jace plays sports too.
do what?
That's how Jace plays sports too. Can't really move his body the way he wants to. I'm gonna change decades. I want to know about when Rob went to jail and you had to bail him out.
That was a good story.
I want to hear that story.
It's a good night.
That's a long night.
That was one of those.
It's a confusing morning.
I normally would not have bitten because I knew that something wasn't right about it. But it was, what time was it? Sandra, y'all know she don't ever go to
Had
bed.
been 2 or 3 in the morning, I
It was,
think.
it's like 11, about 12, so 11 or 12.
And Sandra comes back there and says, they called me from it was Williams, I think.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, well, yeah.
And they called me and said that your grandson's in jail.
which one did you really think it was gonna be?
First inclination, like hearing that.
I don't know, because
Odd.
I look back and I think, good grief, how did I get it? I normally don't get that confused, but I don't quite know that, but anyway, I thought, well, let me check and see. I don't remember if I got a hold of Dane or not, but I knew it had to be on camera Rob. If it's that way,
Had to be
yeah.
us.
And I can't remember if I tried to get a hold of him, but I did try to get a hold of Rob, and I didn't get any answer. And they gave me all this reason why I need to go to Walmart and get this
Money order,
well,
wire
No, it's a
transfer.
card.
some kind of card that
Card.
you got,
Yeah.
and ended up doing that.
Now before that though, I said, why don't you call David? No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna call. We're not waking up. I'm thinking, if we had, then he would say, oh, he's at home. He was in the bed.
Well, no,
But
I'm
I'm-
living in Dad's then.
I'm
No,
kinda-
but your dad had just talked to you. You knew him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just,
he told
just,
us this
just
stuff.
be honest about it. I'm kind of stewing. Rob's in jail. And why is he in jail? That was just my thought. I don't think I ever said anything. I may have said something, Senator, I don't know. And anyway, we went and got all that and did that. And then the next morning, Rob called me. He said, you trying to get me? And I said, yeah, what are you doing in jail?
Mr. Frank's refusing a cavity search.
So I felt like that at that point, and got on to church, and I got the thing. I thought, I've been had, and I started. I don't know. I was still talking to one of the guys, and he was giving me all this. Well, we have a little problem here, and blah blah, and then suddenly I'm thinking I better start checking my credit cards and be sure. See how they had I don't know.
Went to Domino's in Huntsville.
Yeah, was it the first or second pizza that you realized that you were had?
When they told me a pizza, I said, well, they ain't good anyway, but credit card company made all that up. It
But what's
didn't-
wrong with
I was out whatever that card cost.
He could have just called me. I could have told him. Don't do
Hey,
it.
what I got out of
Didn't sound
this was that if I ever get
Just
in
thank
trouble,
goodness it went 1,000.
yeah.
He'll take,
Yeah.
he'll take a 3
Slowly but surely.
Who's
Yeah.
gonna be mad at you?
But the thing
Probably.
is now, if any of us ever go to jail,
See,
you
he's gonna
better
think
not
it's a
call us,
scam,
because
and
he's not.
we're
gonna
done
do it.
for.
Yeah.
I know.
That was one of my
Intended for
most
him.
embarrassing moments.
But it sucks for all of us that actually, if we ever did go to jail, we can't even call you because you're not gonna believe it. Like you're not gonna fall for it.
There's gotta be a
You
code
should have been
word.
the first one.
Yeah.
Little birds in trouble.
I
Grumpy's
created
belt lines.
at that time that if any of you ever got in jail, you'd stay there.
For how
We're gonna
long?
get you out.
Well, if I went to Johnson County, I'd just know them all.
What if your jailmate is named
You'll get
Bubba?
Could you bail us out then?
So what?
Well, how quick you can get hammered, I was telling David and Sandra knew about it. A friend of mine, Benny Ben's he's over in East Tennessee, over here, between Knoxville and somewhere out that way. And I got this text right at the end of Sunday school, Sunday before last Monday.
Yeah, it was.
And his name is Doug Fazell, and it said, had my name, and it said, Bobby, have you got time to talk to me? And I thought, well, I'm about out of Sunday school, so I'll call him here in a minute. It looked somewhat legit, except for one thing, it had virus free written on the email, and I thought, that don't quite sound right. So when I got out, I went to the office and I called, no number, didn't get anybody. And I was gonna call him, I didn't call him, I texted him and didn't get anything back, and I thought, well, I don't have his number. So I said, I texted back, I said, Doug, if you got my phone number, just call me, or give me my phone number. I said, just call me and I'll call you back. He wanted, well, he didn't say what he wanted right then. But after I sent that back, I got a text back that said, I'm tied up till late tonight, so just get some gift cards and I'll pay you for them later. And I thought, no, that's not Doug, that's not right. But I hadn't told y'all this, but he sent out about sometime during that week that he had been scammed. Somebody got a hold of I guess his phone, I don't know. So I got another one this morning, worded just exactly like the first one. So somebody's still using it, so, all I can say is you gotta be very careful in today's world.
Just tell him you'd meet him at Walmart and get him $1,000 Visa.
Yeah.
Just meet you there.
Or 200 Thomas Gatlin Drive. Just go ahead and cuff them up.
So you can't go wrong with the Apple Card, iTunes, just anything like that.
For sure.
I don't know, it sounds like this is some kid or somebody that don't understand, but how would you get the cards to them anyway?
Yeah.
That was my first thought. They want some kind of gift cards, but they're gonna identify themselves to let you know how to get them to them?
It's Walmart.
Yeah, they'll get you to take a picture of the
Cards.
barcode or something.
Walmart. It's Walmart. They
Okay.
just want you to buy the cards.
The scammer at Walmart.
So go back to how did you and Mom meet?
That was gonna be mine.
I got it.
Let Lindsay say.
And you guys
Okay.
like
No, I
several
mean, that's
questions.
Yeah, you've already asked
Several
once.
questions.
It's fine.
Can you edit that out?
I just
Austin?
wanted
I'm gonna edit
answers.
it out.
Do lots of
That's the
answers.
question,
Lindsay,
yeah.
go ahead and ask.
No, not yet. Don't do it yet. Now you can.
How did you and Mimi meet?
I like the way Danny asked it, though.
We were, I was I don't think exactly, I think I was 17, so I was probably a junior. And she was a sophomore. And I had known Mary. She worked down at the Beeline. And I knew who she was. But I didn't know who Nell was. Well, this poor little gal started waiting on she was a car hop. She would come out and take the order, and I'd get lemonade and a bag of Fritos.
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 Original.
Barbecue fritters?
Then it got so serious that, you know, I'd stay and help her pick the paper up.
Oh, wow. That's desperate, That's desperate.
Pick all the paper up between lines.
Chase, we know where you're getting your food.
Did y'all have pizza together?
You do that.
No pizza until I ask you that.
Yeah, we dated till we got married. We started dating when she was a sophomore. I was a junior, and then I went to Belmont for a couple of years, and quit up there. Well, we got married in April that year, April 18th. So.
After she graduated high school?
Yeah, she was already out of high school. And here's one to laugh about. She was working at Lemar, and when we got married, and she was making 10 cents an hour.
That's some
Wow.
sweatshop wages.
Really?
Where was she working?
So she was paying all the bills.
She was at Lemar, out there where Upper Tane is.
Shirt factory.
Yeah, she hated every minute of it. Finally, one day she kept on how bad she did hate it, and I said, if you hate it that bad, I guess all I know to tell you is quit. Turned in her notice up.
Did she ever work with Frank's Vending at all?
Yep.
Yeah.
What? Where you
Depends on how you define, depends on how you define work.
She come in about lunchtime.
Oh, I wonder where you go.
There we go.
Mine's more like 8:30.
If you show up that day.
Yeah. Show up at
8:30
8:30.
Thursday, Friday.
I'd like
I do have
to
the
answer or ask a question. I would like to know what's the longest you've owned a single pair of underwear. The oldest piece of underwear
That's
that you
the
own.
real question.
I'm 15 years.
They got,
Disintegrate?
well, not necessarily, but
So they get sold in the yard sale.
Yeah. I've got a big question. Boxer briefs, and this is for you, Sandra. Boxer briefs or tighty whities? I want to know.
if you want to buy me some, I'll let
You
you.
can't find them though. Once you really like some crap, you can't find them anymore.
Or no underwear, so no underwear at all.
Commando.
Oh, no, not say that. No.
That was, yeah.
So, what got you to Belmont?
We had a preacher that went to Belmont, down Minor Hill. He was part-time. And he would come down there, and I think he would come down like on Friday night or Saturday morning. And then they'd go back on Friday night. And he actually married your mom now. And we just really thought a lot of them. And they were from he was from Mount Pleasant. And so we had a revival down there, and I had been thinking going to Belmont. I don't know, I can't tell you why, but that's just kind of where I was thinking about going. I knew some other people that had gone up there, and they liked it. So he brought his brother in to the revival to be the music director. He was in the same place I was as in high school. So he was still in high school just before we graduated. Well, Glenn was and pardon me, Elena's not down here, but he had red hair and he could sing. But there's something about him I didn't like. I don't know
Ginger hater.
Well, I better not have his red hair.
Girl, so I'm probably working in the
Just
wrong
something I
place.
didn't like.
This conversation has turned.
But he was going to Belmont. Well, we ended up at Belmont, and we got assigned our first roommates. And I had a guy that was from Arkansas. We got along fabulous, but he didn't stay but 1 quarter. And Glenn was with another guy that didn't stay but 1 quarter.
Well, in that quarter, we had come to like each other a whole lot. I mean, we had just got to be good buddies. And we actually decided, well, when they leave, why don't we just join forces and we'll room together. And we roomed together until I left.
He stole your soul, that's what it was.
Yeah, I learned then, that was one of the things I learned. Don't ever judge somebody first time you see them, because you might be wrong. No, I'm wrong.
But tell us what you were going to Belmont for. Was it the business degree or was it something else? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I was basically, I was going there to get a business, but then there was a guy that came there my sophomore year, and he and I ended up in a couple of places together, accounting places, and well, one accounting and one something else. And he was thinking about going to Bowling Green Business University, and he had convinced me that's what we need to do. So when your mom and we got married in April, and I decided, I was planning on going back that fall. And when I got back and started working with Dad, I just felt like he had more than he could handle, and I just couldn't walk away. And ever since.
Has there ever been something else that you wanted to try to pursue?
I've had a good life. I have no complaints, no regrets.
No astronaut, anything like that?
Do what?
Astronaut.
Firefighter.
Yeah,
Food truck.
firefighter.
Yeah.
Police guy. Police woman.
Secret agent man.
I mean,
Ninja.
you know, there's things you think about sometimes, but I've always, you know, as long as, I remember a friend one time, I remember with David Clayton, some of you know David, but I remember somebody asked him, we was on flight to Chicago, and somebody was talking to him, and we just kind of turned around to see each other and said, how big do you want to be? He said, you know, I thought about that. I never want to be bigger than my people want to be. So you got to have good people, and you got to have surround yourself with good people. And we have had a lot of great and wonderful people in our organization over the years. That's what makes Frank community. It's not me. It's the people. And I believe strongly in that. Everybody's got a gift that they can bring to the table if they want to pursue it. Now, we haven't been without some scars, and I hate to have scars, but we have had some.
Ant farmer was actually the correct answer, but that's what she said.
He what?
Ant farmer. Ant hills, ant farms, just a collection of ants. Making sure they're well taken care of. Yeah.
When you were heading off to Belmont and you were thinking about Bowling Green, did you ever think that you'd do something different, or did you always just kind of have in the back of your mind you'd head back?
Well, I'll tell you what. When I was senior in high school, we had a baseball team, and I had been stupid enough to get up there, and my junior year I was playing center field, and I loved it. But something happened, and one day I got in behind the plate and was catching. Never was a good catcher, I'll just admit that up front. But if it hadn't been for the fence, no telling how bad we'd have got beat up on. But he was the pitcher, and I was the catcher, and he was a pretty good pitcher. I was not too good a catcher. And we had another guy that he could throw a baseball. That was all he could throw, and a curve. And so it was a good. One year we were seniors, the coach just came up and said, "You're going to be catcher this year." I said, "No." He said, "Well, you're the only one that ever caught behind the plate." And I said, "Oh, I was just acting stupid." And I ended up, and anyway, Robert and I became best of friends. He was 2 years younger, and it was Robert Jackson. He was actually Uncle Ross's brother's son. And he and I, we had come to Pulaski that night. We had gone to that B-line to get something. Ended up going to the Sam Davis to a movie. And but we had talked for several months. We wanted to become FBI agents. Now, in today's
That's what it was. I've heard this then. I was
in
thinking it was
today's world,
something.
you wonder, why did we want to become FBI agents? But that's what we were thinking about. Now, I was going on and get started, and then he was going to come on. And that night, he was with me. We came to town, did our thing with rental service call to Fayetteville. Pulaski, Jones County was playing over at what is it? Where Johnny Major's Huntman. Playing over Huntman. And we didn't have enough money between us to go over there and get in. So we decided to go spend our 15 or 20 cents to go to the Sound Davis. And when we came back down to the B-line, this guy, he was 2 or 3 years older than we were. And he pulled, just stopped in the street there in front of the B-line in the middle of the street. And Robert went over and was talking to him. He came back and he said, I'm going out with him. Said, I'm going to ride around with him. Said, if I don't see you, said, I'll just ride home with you. And the next morning, Mom came upstairs where I slept. She said, I thought you were with Robert last night. I said, I was, but he was coming out with David. And just, she said, he's dead. Now, you talk about a blow to, that was a blow. And he had a Stoney, I don't know what any of you, he's on the city council or one of the commissioners. Stoney's brother was probably about 3 or 4 years difference in them. And I would go get him and carry him to school every morning. And I did that for weeks. Before it ever hit me and sunk in, I'm not going to pick him up. And I would pick Stoney up and get him to school. But that's as serious as I ever got about doing anything else. And after that happened, I just stuck with the business side. And that's what I was going to do when I going to Bowling Green. They supposedly had a really good business story up there. So we've got to find out for sure.
So I guess the biggest question is, have you really been an FBI agent all these years and you just can't tell us?
Probably.
He's in the best shape of his
Some
life.
part of it he has been.
How about what?
Have you really been an FBI agent all these years and just can't
He's
tell us?
practiced the skills, I'm sure. Yes.
I think he's going to
I've
say
had a
anything
few
about
times
it.
when I thought I practiced the skill, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I've heard of
What's
those.
your favorite undercover agent story from Frank Swindon?
Ooh.
Ooh.
Happy or sad?
You can keep it light if you want to.
You don't have to mention names.
Yeah.
Well, no.
I'm thinking the laundromat story, but if there's a better one, I'll take it.
So you want me to tell about that?
No, you can tell whichever one you want to. That's just the one. That's the one that I've heard you tell the most, probably.
Well, I'll tell it since you got that and started, but we have a hell now lived over on East Jefferson. Y'all have heard the housing projects, what it used to be referred to. I think they've got a different name now, but there was a washateria up there. And why we ever put a cigarette machine in there, I don't know. And they broke into it about 2 or 3 times a week, and it was like, why don't we pull this out? But we didn't. We bought all this dye that you could put in the coin box, and when it got on their hand and they tried to wash it, it would turn purple. Well, we knew where they were spending the money. They were spending the pool room. And I went to Bob Peden, who ran the pool room. Bob, I need some help. Told him what was going on. Oh man, I will hit you if I can. If I see anybody that down, I'll let you know. Well, Bob wasn't gonna let me know because he was getting the money, so it didn't bother him. But anyway, one night, the guy that ran it was L.F. Carpenter's daddy-in-law, Malin Phillips. And Malin and I got this real bright idea. We're gonna catch him. So Malin, I said, you pick me up. I don't know where you got to pick me up at my house or where, because it's just 2 blocks to the laundry. And I said, you pick me up and I'm gonna hide in your car and I'm gonna sneak out the side and go in the door. And he had a room behind or a door that accessed the area behind the dryer. And I said, I'm gonna slip in behind there and you make sure I'm locked in and you can come back and let me out. So I'm standing there and I'm watching and this and that and came in, but it was a lady and her daughter came in. And I had seen the lady, I didn't know her that well, but I knew of her. And they come in and they're walking around everything in that laundry, checking something about it. Why, I don't know. And they came to this door. I had gotten in there, realized Malin didn't lock me in. And there was no lock on the inside, the lock that somebody couldn't come in. And this lady, she pulls on that door. I had nowhere to go, I'm standing there. And scared her to death. I come out apologizing and trying to explain what just happened. But that was probably one of those other most embarrassing moments that you couldn't totally explain away.
I want to know who your favorite child is.
I have always refused to identify
Go ahead.
anybody.
Dad, go ahead and tell
Everybody's a favorite, so that's the only way I'm going to
What about
answer
the
that.
most spoiled child? Who was spoiled the most?
Go ahead and tell
Spoiled,
them.
I won't say it.
Oh, Debbie will answer real quick, and David will too.
Who's still spoiled?
They always accused it, so I know I'm not going to win. If I even make a comment, I'm going to get in trouble on that.
What was the most trouble Dad ever got in?
Oh.
The what?
What was the most trouble Dad ever got in?
My kids are not.
Your dad?
Mm-hmm.
My kids can't say
Oh,
There's got to be something. He plays it off like he was a golden child, but I just don't believe
I
it.
probably got your feet sit on there.
Well, I'll tell you, it was a strange one at that time. He probably don't want to hear this.
He probably don't even know. Tell him.
Yeah.
There was 2 things that I remember distinctly in a bunch, but Mamie hated snakes. She didn't want to have anything to do with snake. Didn't matter if it's live or dead, or rubber or whatever. And David had this rubber snake, and I kept telling him, I said, David, you gonna get your arm cut off on these things. And he put it in a knife drawer. Of all places, I think it was in a knife drawer. And she opened that drawer up. And I didn't hear the conversation, but from what I did hear later, she read him the right act. And I told him, I said, I'm just telling you, you better throw them away. She has no sense when she's close to a snake. So that was one funny one, but the one I think of probably more than any other on David is at church. This was before the new area was built, and it was just a hallway where the hallway is now. When you go up the ramp, that was the porch outside. And on Sunday night, all the guys that smoke would go out there and they'd smoke. And so they would flip their cigarette out, and then they'd holler at all the boys and say, okay boys, y'all come on, it's time for church. All of them come in. And one night, standing there, and I don't know, I didn't smoke, so I was just standing there looking. And I saw guys pick a cigarette out. And I saw his son, he comes by and he just kind of eases down and picks a cigarette up. And I'm just watching, not knowing what's going to happen. And the parking lot's out there where it is now, except it was gravel. He goes on out there behind that, and I saw David, he was somewhere out there around close by. And he took the other boy, he took a draw off of it. I saw him hand it to David, and David took a draw off of it. And I thought, oh gosh, how do I deal with this one? Well, we would go down to the chewing chat after church and get something to eat. And we started home, and David and Debbie are in the back, but David's got his head right up behind me. And he's just right to my side. And I'm thinking, I don't know what to say. But I just kind of looked around and I said, David, I said, how's Smokey? He said, huh? I said, how's smoking? He said, Dad, I didn't like that. I'm not going to do that anymore. Well, I thought, well, I've been bigger trouble, so I said, well, let me give you a piece of advice. And I meant it. I meant what I said. I said, if you're going to smoke, you need to be big enough to smoke for your mom and I, and you need to be big enough to tell us. And I'm not going to do that anymore. And I don't know, you may have been out of high school. Oh, I'm pretty sure you were out of high school. And I kind of suspected he was smoking. I'd seen he had Marlboro in a kind of a box. I'd seen one of those laying around in his car or somewhere. And yeah, probably. So he came up to the coal plant one day, and I was up there, and he said, Dad, I need to talk to you. I said, okay. And we went back in the office, and he said, you remember what you told me a long time ago? You know, I told him a bunch of stuff long ago. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, you remember about smoking? I said, yeah, I remember that instant. He said, I'm smoking. I said, okay. I don't agree with it, but I appreciate you coming and letting me know. That took a lot of will to do that, and I appreciate that. And I said, but you need to go tell your mom. No, Dad, I can't do that. I said, you need to tell her. I said, I'm not telling her, you need to go tell her. And I don't know what he said, but when I got home, I got raped over the house. I think it had been something said like, well, Dad agreed, I just need to come tell you. I don't know what he didn't tell her that I said, I don't agree with this or not. But, and I had to try to explain my way out, which I didn't do a very good job of that. But she was mad for a few days about why did you tell me you just didn't need to do it? I can't be with him every minute of every day. All I can do is give advice. But he never smoked too much too long. I don't think. I couldn't say that and say I.
Did you, David?
Accurate.
No.
All right, now let's just go on down the list. What about Mama?
Next child.
Because I know I got her beat, so you go ahead and tell us whatever it is. I know I've done worse, I'm sure. So.
So he can't even think of a story about me.
Either that or you can't pick one out.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I told you about it. Well, I told Debbie about it. But you didn't know about it until Judy told me.
I was
What?
But her sneaking out the window.
Ooh.
Go out the window.
She's a little window sneaker.
Sneaking out the
She was really
Judy
slow.
said, but how do you know about it?
Oh, well,
Judy
I know
used to
you
tell
know about it.
confessions.
How do you know about it? Because you
I
said
didn't
you
know
were going
about
to
it.
tell.
Oh,
You trusted Sandra to not tell?
Well, no, but
I went wasn't gonna tell, but hey, this is family.
Yeah, but
Let's
he didn't know
not-
it back then, so he has to tell a story from back then.
Well, that's right.
If
No,
that
he didn't
happened,
know
I
till I
didn't
said
know.
See?
He
Do
did.
you
That's
remember?
He really
Do
did.
you remember stories of all of us being born?
Well,
Yeah.
I barely made before all of you were born, but it was barely. Because I remember David, there was a false alarm 2 weeks before he was actually born. And I was out on the route somewhere. But I'd ask your mama that morning, I said, you think you're gonna be okay? She said, I think so. And then we didn't have any kind of radios or anything. And I don't remember how I got the word. I was in Martinsburg. But I got back and we had this false alarm. And then that day, I might have been in plastic, I don't know, but the next 2 weeks later, David was born, and I did get there. When David was born, I got there okay. When you were born, it was like, okay, I need to go to Nashville today. You think this is gonna be a good day to go or not? Yeah, I think I'm gonna be okay. Well, Mayra was kind of the backup in most of this anyway. She's always the mama of the nail. I mean, that's just kind of the way it was. And I was at Samuel Pennington in Nashville. I remember that. And they called, and I was about through, and I left up there, and I think that was an hour and a minute. I was sitting in Cole Hospital. Dr. A.G. was out on the golf course. Came in with his cleats and his golf stuff and threw something in.
Sweater vest and all.
And it was, I want to say within an hour you were born.
Wow.
So I made all of it, but it was by the hair you chinny chin. And I remember you when carried you home, and that was on Monday or not, I think it was. And on Wednesday night, she said, are you going to church? And I said, yeah. And I said, I've got to get Danny ready. I'm going to carry him. She said, you're not carrying him. I said, yes, I am. Watch me. And I remember taking you to church, 2 days old or something like that, and just taking you around in the carrier and, doing what all parents, I guess, should do. No.
2 days.
He had a few years to get over
I was
us.
scared to do that with David and with Debbie because that was all learning experience. By that time, I was old hand at it, so
I thought Granddaddy came and got me.
Yeah, he did the same thing. You were only less than a week old, I think. And he came by the house where we lived over on East Jefferson and took you home with him. It might have been just a little over that, but he got where he'd do that pretty regular. And Debbie, he loved to aggravate Debbie.
Yes, he did.
He had a fly swat that sat next to his chair, and he'd get that fly swat and beat
No,
that floor. Ruler.
Yardstick.
A 4 foot yardstick.
Yardstick. 4 foot. Yeah. It's a 4 foot yardstick.
Yeah, frame and
4 foot
What's
plus the.
I screamed all the time. All the time.
Granddaddy.
So, a good one. How'd you make Sandra?
I know that story, don't you?
I was online dating.
Oh, can I say what I recall before you even brought us in there?
Was
to
that
tell
what
us?
it was? Farmer's meat.
I was
Farmer's
being
own
nosy at
yard.
your desk one night.
City boys just don't get it.
And I don't know, I think I was in there with Mama because she was like working late or something. And I looked in your drawers and I was just trying to be nosy. And I saw all these cards from a South Carolina address and it was Sandra. And I was like, who is Sandra Young? Like, are they pen pals? Like, like there were
They have
so
book
many
club.
cards. And I had a feeling it was something, but I was like, it can't be like a long lost cousin. We would have done heard about her. And so I was like, what, 9 or 10? So I was like, this is strange. And then like later on, he brought us.
Later on, it got even stranger.
I knew it.
So
I caught you before.
Nosy.
That's me being FBI agent. That was good.
No, after Mamie died, I struggled. Anybody that was around me knew I was struggling, and it just, I wasn't handling it well. But
And then I came in and had a talk with you.
yeah, Debbie came in one day and she said, having a bad day, aren't you, Dad? And I said, yeah, I don't think God made me to be alone. And that, you think back and you think, why did I say that? But that's what I said, wasn't it? And she said something like, I don't think you did either. So she's got a piece of paper and a pen. She starts to write something down. And she said, we just need to name people you might want to go out with. And I said,
Watching an Andy Griffith show.
I don't want to do that.
That was before I realized you already had a plan. You were already on this stuff.
No, I didn't have one.
No, I don't think you did right now. You told me about you.
It was the day Dale Earnhardt got killed. I remember that. And I would just leave town.
Yeah, I remember that because I was at church.
Just
I
to
remember.
get out of town.
Sunday night, February 13th.
Like on Friday night or Saturday night, and just go somewhere. Because I wasn't handling it well. And I'd gone to Chattanooga, and I remember I heard Dale Earnhardt got killed in that wreck, at Talladega, I think. And I literally cried all the way home. And I was praying, God, you've got to send me somebody that I can relate to. You got to do that. And it was like, somebody had told me about Christian Matchmakers, which I knew nothing about it. I don't even know what kind of computer I had. Didn't know how to get on it, hardly. And I remember getting on Christian Matchmakers that night.
It made you a profile?
Well,
This is like the most impressive thing.
The-
I mean, seriously.
I thought he told me it was Xbox Live, but
Well, see, she had a picture out there, and
That
I
was
don't.
weird. It was
I
a
told
weird.
her this. She don't look anything like Neil, but the way she was standing in the picture, she looked like Neil.
The background looked like your fence.
Background.
Yeah, it's in like my house in front of me,
And
the backyard.
anyway, I sit there and squirmed, and hey, I've been married 41 years, 7 months, and 2 days. I don't know how you do this. I didn't know how to do it the first time. I didn't know to pick up paper. And so I finally got up enough nerve to give her a call. Well, she had been off of Christian Matchmakers for what, usually a month or two or 30.
Yeah. Wow.
And she had to join up in order to respond.
I did.
And
Remember that.
anyway, we started talking sometime, I don't know,
Email back and forth. That's the
10 o'clock. Well, at 3 o'clock the next morning, I'm trying to get her to get off, but she's got, I didn't know then that that's just her norm.
3 a.m.
found out.
Yeah.
He found out.
A few weeks later, Debbie, I go in the office and Debbie's standing there at my office door, and she said, and I said, oh gosh, telephone bill must have come in. Now at that time we had a crazy telephone system we had. And the bill was $700 and something. I said,
He got in a lot of
"There's
trouble
no
from
way."
me.
And I called him and I told him, I said, this is ridiculous. 50 cents a minute or something like that.
I'm just trying to flirt.
They shoot my shot. If I was going up bricks with them, that they'll cut it down
down, and they got it down to something I
500.
thought was a whole lot more reasonable than 700. It was still 100 or maybe a little more. But and that's how we met.
I hate that
We didn't
kind.
even see each other for a couple of months or more.
Did you ask her to go halfers in on the bill?
I kept asking, I said, has that phone bill come in? I said, your daughter Debbie's gonna be.
Oh man.
He said, no, it
Were
ain't
you
come in
scared
yet. No, I just knew it's gonna be high. I mean, yeah, I mean, I said, she's gonna really be upset. And then he finally told me, he said, it came in. I said, oh, what did she
So were
say?
y'all both scared of me?
No, I wasn't, but I mean, I just,
He swiped right.
My goodness.
no, I just told him,
There was no swiping, it was
seriously.
clicking.
We got,
That-
we got a question.
I wanted to make
Like-
sure it was okay with all of y'all. I mean, because I wasn't, I said, if they're not, you know, all right with you seeing somebody, that's fine. I said, because I'm not going to go that route. I said, listen, too many things in my last 20 years being single again. I'm not going that route. And he told me that you were okay.
But
That was okay.
I had stipulations.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Oh.
she is 10 hours away, you know.
I was like,
You're gonna have to cut down that bill.
What do you say?
Okay.
no, I was wrong.
Dad.
And then, of course, Danny, we didn't know. He lived far away. And I'm thinking, oh, and I knew you were the baby. I know it makes a difference. Because I'm the baby of the family. But it wouldn't bother me with Daddy. It was Margaret's the middle child. It really bothered.
Skirt
But
can't
Daddy
go
saw
higher
somebody
than 2
come
inches
down.
above the knee.
But the lower
All right,
she is.
David's got a question.
I want
Okay.
to know about one of the funny stories about Daddy.
About Daddy,
Oh, I bet that's,
I was thinking about one other day that was pretty funny to me when it happened. Daddy had a friend, I can't even remember what his name was. And he'd come over to the house and he'd spend the night.
Oh, John.
John Mark.
No, not John Mark. It was John Alfio.
And we were playing some kind of game. And they were pretty good. But Danny didn't know much about sports. So it was we were down to like the last question. And they're talking their strategy. Well, when the question came up, they got the answer first, and of course they won if they answered it right. I knew the answer, but I'm waiting on all the dialogue to go on. And they came up with the answer, and John says, "Danny, I'm gonna kill you if you answer that wrong." I assume he must have been the one that came up with the answer. And when the answer was wrong, and I answered, I think it's Babe Ruth.
I don't remember.
I think it was the answer was Babe Ruth. And he took off after Danny. They went all over the house running each other down. And that's how we won that one. Or they beat up on us.
What about the time you took Danny camping in a camper?
Oh Lord, that was,
Nightmare.
he was,
You remember that, don't you, Debbie?
I wasn't there.
I'm gonna say he was less than 2. I can't remember exactly. Probably between 1 and 2. And friends in Huntsville, John and Faith Tate, they decided we should get a camper each and go over to Fall Creek Falls and stay 2 or 3 days. So we do. Well, the first place we parked, we're about that incline. So your plate you had to hold to eat. And so Johnny and I got the car, we had his car, and we went looking for it and found 2 level spots. So one of us backed in, the other one pulled in so that we'd have doors coming out. And there was a grill out there. And Debbie decided she's going to stay with Johnny and Faye. And they had Jason was just a baby. I remember he was a baby. So she goes over there. David gets up in the overhead above the driver. There's a place up there. there's a king size or queen size in the back of the trailer that Dale and I were gonna sleep on. And the table where you ate in the camper would make a bed for Danny. It had a nice mattress and everything. And that was the plan. And it was a good plan. And so Danny decided he wanted the king size. And so David's up there shaking the whole trailer laughing about all this chaos that's going on. Well, it ended up, Danny ends up in the king size bed. Dale and I trying to squeeze in on something that wasn't any bigger, about like this right there. And you know, all doubled up trying to get a little bit of sleep. And Danny's up, David's up in the top still laughing, but trying to settle that down. And I swore off the camping right then.
I want to hear the story about David and Debbie playing, was it badminton?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were outside as normal playing something and playing badminton, and Debbie comes in and all I can see is blood in her eye. I mean, it's just blood shot. And just faints right there. You can get her down the floor, and David comes in laughing and saying, "Oh, she's just putting on." And I said, "David, she's not putting on. Her eyes. What happened?" "I don't know." We're going through this conversation trying to.
I can tell you right now what happened if you want me to.
Well, I found out later. Go ahead, you can tell a story like that.
No, I was just going to say that I was saying, hit it to me, hit it to me. David says, I'll hit it to you. Carmen says, no, I'll hit it to you. So Carmen hits the badminton birdie and hits me in the eye. Go ahead.
And that's what we found out later. But I picked her up and I told Nell, I said, we gotta get to the hospital. I don't even know what we did with David.
I know what y'all were doing. Y'all were painting the dressers to Danny's bedroom, his little dresser drawers.
We made care of my mom and dad. I don't remember exactly, but I remember I wasn't getting a lot of cooperation from, okay, this happened. Well, in the meantime, while we're trying to get everything to go to the hospital, his mom called, and she's wanting to know what's going on. And I said, I don't really know right now. We got to get her to the doctor ASAP. And she's trying to apologize and say, it's okay right now, but we got to get her to, trying just to be nice, but don't know what's going on. Anyway, we ended up in Columbia. And I mean, they were really worried about her sight there for the first 48 hours. And she had to put a thing on both sides so she couldn't move her head. And you were there about 2 days, wasn't you?
Yeah, Mom left you with me at night, and I wasn't supposed to eat or drink. And then you were sneaking downstairs getting us both candy bars. And he said, if you just suck on this chocolate and don't just suck on it, don't get choked, because your mama killed me. So we had a plan. We had a good plan.
Your mommy's always been a good one.
And you got
with
that
you at
and
the
you got
hospital.
that.
Debbie always had a good plan when it came to food.
Well, whatever you got.
Yeah, really.
She got sick one time, and when I came in, I went to check on her, and she's in the bed, and I knew she was sick. She just didn't feel good, and so I said, I went back in. I don't know that she heard me, but I told Nell, I said, if she feels as bad as she looks, she really feels bad. And so I go back in, and all of a sudden she's laying there in bed, and it's just like this. You just see her fingers start growing. Scared the daylights out of me. And I hollered at Nell, or went and got her, and I said, get in the car, and I'm going to get in the back seat with her. And I just grabbed her up, and I got in the back seat, and we headed to the hospital. and that was a Sandra syndrome of, she had,
And anxiety attack.
And
anxiety attack.
hyperventilated.
And
Just breathe in a
hyperventilated.
paper bag, you'll be
Yeah.
okay. But that was a scary
That's-
feeling. But sometime during all that time, one night I sent her to bed without food. I don't remember what that was about. And I got the feeling started and went back there, but she was eating something. And we got to look at, she had stuff under the bed. She had stuff in the, and she had more stuff in her bedroom than we had in the cupboard. Yeah, well, without food, I learned then, I thought, she's not gonna starve.
That's where I get it.
I just want to make sure.
I got a snack everywhere I go.
You know what? Now we do the same thing.
Hey, I'm just
Dad
thinking, I'm
did the
saying
same
that you're
thing.
like
He lived at the house.
What's wrong with it?
Yeah.
She and
She's just
David,
like
We stayed
me.
up there.
she and David could always concoct all these things. And one Sunday morning we went to church. We got through, came back home, and that was before we had the garage turned into part of the house. We started going to the garage door, and all of a sudden, Debbie, it's Easter, I think, and Debbie's, they both all decked out. They'll always had them decked out, and they were looking good. And Debbie said, "Oh, David, the kittens are gone." So what? They had hid. It was 2 or 3 cats in the garage. We didn't know about it.
Were they limbs? They were cats.
He's on the other side of the world at that point.
Yeah. And then David, he always made this stuff, and he had a couple of ducks. I think it's ducks.
They were colored ducks.
And he made a slide out of a wood plank, which probably had splinters all in it, I'm sure. Wore the feathers off those ducks. Slide them down that slide.
Trick ducks.
I've been blessed with all these stories.
Just like that mouse last night.
Seem to enjoy
Oh, man.
Help me!
I was a trick mouse last night too, with all that hair on that sticky trap.
Yeah, we had a hamster got us. That was Danny's one.
No, that one wasn't that one yours. I do want you to tell that story.
Oh, yeah.
Was that the bad one?
That was the bad
That's
one.
the real bad one.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't.
Wasn't there a good one too?
That
Like
needs
when
to
I
be-
sat in his pocket.
Mine was the good one.
No, mine.
I had a good one too.
I did not have one. I was the good child. I was your favorite. Go ahead.
Yeah, we had a hamster, and the dude would get out of the cage. We did everything but wire tied all the way around several times. Dude would get out, and one night I hear this. What in the world? And I jump up, and I can't quite tell where he is. I think it's over there around the vanity. And I thought, oh gosh, we had a sticky trap under there. That had to be a rat because it was too noisy. That doggone hamster had got in that sticky trap, and whatever somebody said, I think today about they stick to it. I thought it was gonna pull the legs and everything else off trying to get him out. Got him out, got him back in, and I don't know, a while later, I mean, it just mean.
You have her juice.
And I couldn't ever make myself like that dude. And we hadn't been living there all that long where we are now, and he got in the study, and he got up under the desk in there, and there's nothing you can do. He's under that desk, and it's that big, and he can just jump over. And I knew one night he was gonna come through into our bedroom, because he was gnawing all the sheetrock. and just taking it out and putting it in the floor like, I'll show y'all. And we couldn't catch him. And one morning, we still not Daddy's, and I went down there to work, and he was under there, and I left him. And I thought, I'm going back to there and get that dude somehow. I'm gonna get it. And I got a coat hanger and straightened it out somewhat. And I'm back there just trying to kill him for nothing else. And I put some water. I had tried that before, and I didn't put it far enough out, so I put some food and water, because as far as I knew, I hadn't eaten in days. And I put it far enough out, and I got in under where the chair goes, so he couldn't see me. You know, at whatever age I was then, that was pretty bad having to do that, but that's what I did. And he got out and he looked, and I don't think he saw me. And when he got out, I had my hands where and I think he died not too long. He died
from like broken ribs.
Punctured lung, maybe.
Stab wounds.
I don't think you and Grandbobby ever take care of this.
Tell about burning your pizza boxes.
Ooh,
Pizza
yeah.
boxes, what pizza boxes?
I've got
that was a stupid thing. We moved up there in September of '77 at the house and had that fireplace. And John had drawn plans of the house, and they'd come up to the house on I don't know what night, but they were there, and we went and got some pizza. Came back. Well, you know, I'm gonna be real smart, and we get through with the pizzas. I just start putting the boxes in the fireplace and let them burn up. Being not good environmentalists, I guess, at that time. And all of a sudden, I hear this roar, and I think, what in the world is that? Well, I didn't say anything, and I just kind of walked back out on the back porch and out in the yard, I think, and flames are just rolling out on the roof. And it scared me to death, and I run back in. I don't think we had a fire extinguisher. And I'm trying to, somebody just called the fire department. And of course they're already down on my hill road. And I said, and nobody's understanding what I'm saying. Just call the fire department. And all I can think of, I walked out on the front porch, and I heard them leave down there. And here they come. They come around my daddy's house and up the hill, and look like you're stopping at every place. And by then, the fire has subsided and it's not coming out. But all I can think of is Mike Senior was a volunteer fireman. And I'm thinking, Mike's going to come up here with an axe and go up on that roof and start chopping a hole in the roof. And sure enough, Mike is the first one to come up. He said, what's going on? I said, Mike, it's okay now. Told him what happened. I said, but don't take that daggum chopping axe up there and chop my roof. He didn't.
All right.
So I know that you've been to many places. If you had to pick one location, like, I don't care if it's a state or another country, whatever, because you travel a lot, where would you go back to? Like, what was one of your favorite places? And why?
We went to,
Who's we?
Nell and I.
Okay.
We went to, it was a Dr. Pepper. It was some kind of, I don't remember, it was a contest. And we were they had it, I think it was 2 winners, but they couldn't send but one. And I've forgotten where the first one went. But they came back and offered an alternative to, and it may have been 2 or 3 winners, I can't remember, but they had an alternative to go to Austria. And I knew nothing about Austria. I had never heard anything about Austria particularly. And we went and didn't know it at the time, but that's where the Sound of Music was filmed. and we went to a lot of the places where all that happened. And but the country was just immaculate. I guess I was expecting to see, you know, this old timey farm equipment and all that. They had some of the most modern stuff. But what impressed me, their houses were built like 1, 2, 3 levels, and you would think they would do it the opposite, but the younger families would be on the bottom. The next generation would be in the middle. The older generation would be up steps. Now Sandra couldn't handle that because she can't go up steps. But anyway, and all their wood was cut exactly, looked like the same. They stacked it perfect. It was on the north side of the house to protect from the cold winter. But what I did notice now is they carry us on several different tours and things, which we got to see a lot of how they did things. And I remember you'd see the older couple be out there and they'd have a rake in the corner of a field where they had cut the hay, and they'd be raking that out from that corner. Looked just like a yard being raked, and they'd pull it out enough when they did the hay baling, it would get. And I said, do they do that all over? And he said they don't leave the spree. All the grass is pulled back. The older generation does it, and they get it off. But it was a neat thing. That was Danny was graduating. I remember that, and we flew into Munich, and then when we had to come back a day early from London. We flew from London back to Nashville and got to his graduation just an hour or two. That was another close.
Your birth, your graduation.
Close goals.
Yeah.
Lieutenant, you were the last child.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
But it was just the difference. First time I'd ever actually. I'm not sure that one. I had been in the Bahamas probably, but I don't think I've ever been out of the country. So that was 92.
93.
What's that?
Did you graduate?
95.
95.
Miriam. What year did you
But it was at a time where we got to go to. If you've ever seen The Sound of Music, I watch it every time I get a chance anymore. But we were at the house that's in the movie. We actually ate there. One of the Von Trapp sisters spoke to us. We're out at the gazebo that they show a lot of scenes from, and they all love gazebos, so she fell in love with all of that. And then we went 3 or 4 of the other places. It's scenes in there that I remember that we saw. So that was just one of those. It's tough.
They made us watch it at Highland every Wednesday, so I've seen it several times.
Do what?
In the choir room, they used to make us watch that about every other Wednesday.
So you hate it?
No, I like it okay. I feel like I was there.
You like that, sister?
Speaking of being there, Danny and Miriam's wedding, Mallory got her head stuck.
This has
What was
nothing
it
to
like
do with
to
grandma.
witness that first
Were
time?
you the one that pushed her to get her head stuck?
This doesn't have anything to do with you.
It was
You
there.
can tap out.
Oh.
Is this battery run down?
I was just making sure it wasn't. We're good.
Next.
You
Actually.
don't have to ask again. I didn't.
No, it's
said-
okay.
oh.
It's irrelevant.
Okay.
Currently.
No, yeah, she's right. Go ahead, Mallory.
It was irrelevant. That's not anything to do.
Now
I
it's
didn't ask
cute.
if I don't know what you asked.
He probably don't remember that.
No,
He
he
probably
didn't.
don't know that happened.
He's
Oh, well.
He's
It's
just
about
acting
me.
coy because he was
Video
the one that
footage.
did it.
Who videoed it?
Huh? Somebody videotaped
Yeah, there's video of it somewhere. I remember seeing it.
I've seen it.
You talked about being proud of your, proud of the company. Can you think back to like one or two moments that you're just particularly proud of?
You what?
One or two moments of Frank's vending history that you were particularly proud of?
I remember what you did one proud of.
Yeah.
I can leave the room.
What Lake said I could talk about it.
You know, I guess, and I've said this to friends that talk about Dad and how we grew and everything. That was a God thing, always was. I never had a doubt that God put it all together. It wasn't Dad, it wasn't me, it wasn't anybody in particular. But I was always proud that Dad worked tremendously hard. And he took more chances than anybody I was ever around. I mean, he didn't have money. I mean, it would appear, yes, he did. But as I was growing up, and I've told Sandra this, I stayed scared to death that somebody's going to come take everything we had, house, anything, because I'd hear Dad on the phone, and I knew kind of enough to know that it wasn't easy. He had stacks of coupon books that would be that thick for vending equipment that he was paying monthly payments on, and they usually were at least 36 months at that time. And I'd hear him say, "Well, I can't do anything this week, but I'll try to get you something next week." And Dad, as far as I know, never beat anybody out of anything. He always paid them, and it might have been late, all that, but he always made it good, and I never heard anybody that ever said anything really bad about it. He was likable, he was liked, his honor and his integrity was always instilled. But I always said if you sold him some on credit, he would buy it. That was just his, and he and I had a few arguments about some of that, but he was the boss, and I knew that. We had our debates in a room, and we came out, we was on the same page. And I try to instill that same thing. Sometimes he would win the argument, and sometimes he let me win the argument, I guess. But I can never remember us having any ill feelings at all about anything. Just I can't. And he was kind of like my hero. And so, you know, we always hit it off. We worked hard. But if we would have never gotten any of that accomplished if he hadn't had the goal to do what he did. Could you do it today? It would be very difficult because, you know, with banking the way it is today and everything else the way it is, somebody would already come down on you. And fortunately, some of those people he dealt with trusted that he was going to take care of them. And I guess of all things, I'm more proud that he had that. He did that. Would I have ever been able to do that? Probably not. Because I really literally thought somebody was going to come down and get everything we had.
Now you've had 4 generations working there.
Yeah. And he gets the credit. I mean, that's the way I look at it. It's, even though David and Debbie remember, Danny, you don't remember much, probably do you? a little bit.
Oh, I remember a pretty good bet.
And the rest of you weren't around. But he was he was just a class act, and most anybody that would speak highly of somebody, I just can't ever remember anybody ever saying something bad. People that knew him that I run into even today, which is not that many left of his generation that did know him, they always have something good. He was in the Masonic Lodge, and there are people who tell me he was one of the best at whatever they did. I never knew what they did.
It's a secret.
Dad was one of the best.
Well, that apple didn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, it was instilled. I knew what he wanted me to do. He never said, "You gotta do it." He never said that. And I've tried not to say that either. The availability is there for those that want to carry on. But you know, nobody can get forced into something that they don't feel good about. So I knew what he wanted, and I tried to carry it out the best I knew how. Did I make my mistakes? Absolutely. Do I still make them? Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, I remember when Dad died, I thought, oh my goodness, because he had bought a lot of stuff and properties that didn't have anything to do with business, but it was, he bought a lot of it on credit during a bad 18% interest rates, 21% interest rates, and all that stuff.
On the Saturday. On the Saturday.
Usually on Saturday if I sleep in town. Please don't do something. Don't buy this.
Oh, shit.
And but he just that was him. I mean, it wasn't any of my business really what he did. In a way.
But then again, it was.
Well, I was trying to tell him, I think this is a mistake. And I still think that, but we never, the only time I ever remember saying something was one Saturday morning, or one day he got a letter from, I think it was that building under where McKay is. He had bought that. He had bought the side of it, not the McKay part, but they've got it all now. But he was in the south side building there, and he was supposed to pay. I forgot who owned it now, but he was supposed to pay him so much a year plus interest. And he came along, he didn't have the money, and the guy sent him a letter saying, "We're gonna." I'm gonna turn it over to foreclosure if you don't make the payment. And he was groaning about it 2 or 3 or 4 days. And I didn't say anything. I listened, and I was trying to think, how in the world can we make this work? And he went on Saturday morning. I was down there, and he brought the letter in, just kind of put it on my desk, and he said, "What do you think about that?" And I usually never say anything like this, but I looked at it and I read it, and I said, "I don't blame him a damn bit." And that's just what I said. It kind of stunned him, I think, and it stunned me after I thought about what I said. And he said, "Well, what do you think?" I don't know whether he asked it that day or not, but there are 2 ladies. "What do you think?" I said, "Well, Dad, I don't know." I said, "I've got 2 or 3 ideas. They may or may not work. But I'm gonna say this to you. I'll give you my best shot at what I think might work, But if you're not gonna listen to me, don't waste your time and mine either. Because I thought I had to use that kind of rhetoric to get his attention on it. And unfortunately, about 3 months later, he died. But he had showed me enough that I knew a little bit about some of it. That might have been a year before he died. But he showed me enough. I said, "You're going to show me everything. I don't have a clue what you're doing." And it probably was at least a year before, because I said, if I can see what you're looking at and how much you owe and how much you've got coming in, and he had a whole lot more owing than he had coming in. And I said, we'll do something, try to make it the best we can. And he took that, and I did know a little bit when he did, when he died. I knew enough that, okay, I need to get rid of all these buildings, but I can't have a fire sale. And that's kind of how I approached it. If I start trying to sell them all at once, property values in Pulaski is going to do that. And I just went to one person at a time, sell one off, go to somebody else and try to make a deal, just to get out from under them. Didn't make any money on them, just get out from under them. And it was big.
You still own the building up there, the bank building?
It's for sale, you want?
It's for
Yeah.
Good price.
Unfortunately,
A real good
yes.
price, yeah.
And I've offered racehorse deals, and nobody will even take a racehorse.
Well, didn't John Patel own the bottom part before he passed away? Because I thought he was trying to rent it out. Maybe it's right beside that. Is the Watkins building?
He could have got it. No, I've never talked to John.
But he
Jake
would have.
said he would buy it and open up a Chick-fil-A.
Oh, is it?
I had a guy 2 or 3 months ago, maybe a little longer. Oh, he sounded really like he was going to do it. He said, "It's going to take me a little time, probably." And there was no word.
Well, he did. He died. Who? That's not who he was talking about. I thought he was John.
No, it was, I just forgot what his name was. He's connected with a barbecue place down there at Price. You remember him coming in?
Yeah, but I didn't know who it was.
Well, he had some good thoughts.
He did have some good thoughts, but I didn't think it was.
But I've had others that had good thoughts. We even had one that wanted to just donate to him, and he was gonna, well, he was gonna do. That was, what's his name, he used to work for us, didn't he?
Yeah. Talking about somebody that's got some good ideas. Bo Reynolds.
No.
Mercy. He used to work for us now.
You get all
That
kind
is-
of offers.
Who hired him?
That was back in the day at the old office.
I know they're on a whole nother level. Courthouse.
Yeah, you know.
We knew about
We
the
know
whole
him.
level.
Yeah, we know him. We know him very well.
I'm so glad.
That's
I've
why
never
that's
told
why
him
he
all
still
this.
owns that bank building.
Okay, the city just take it and pay me a little bit, and y'all can do what you want to do.
Bo Reynolds still needs a job though. If you're,
We don't have.
Yeah, I don't think we got
he's
any.
got a lot of girlfriends that he needs to pay for.
He's going to find another job.
They're usually in jail.
Gotta wait till
He
you
called me
So-
down at the store. I was getting gas one night. He said, "David, what are you doing?" I said, "Not a lot, Bo. What do you know?" He said, "You're a businessman. Let me ask you. Let me run something by you." And I'm thinking, "Oh man." And he said, there was some old place uptown. I'm gonna get that, and I'm gonna open up a place where college kids can come and hang out. And I got me a limousine bought, and I'm gonna ride them around town, and wherever they want to go, and charge them a little bit." And he said, "And I'm gonna let them come in up there, and I'm gonna charge $5 a head, and I'm gonna let them eat all they want to." He said, $5 a head. And I said, He said, what do you think about that? And I said, well, number one, you're going to go broke. And number two,
Real quick.
they ain't got no money to start with.
Especially if they're going to Martin.
And why does he want to mess with college students?
Well, I think it's going to work, so I'm going to do it. I said, go for it. He bought well, I saw him driving it. 1962 black limousine that looked like I think they used it in World War II.
That wasn't too terribly long ago, was it?
No.
Yeah.
It was. Oh Lord, I hope that's something else he got, not the one he was going, because ain't nobody riding in that. And Matt has door missing. Sure.
Well, he's been in jail a lot since he's worked at Frank's. I don't know about his record back then, but he had a DUI in Lincoln County not too long ago, and he had a court date in Pulaski that he did not know that we knew he was over there. He made sure and called the office and said, make sure and tell Chip. He ain't calling him Judge Richardson. He said, make sure and tell Chip that I need to be brought to his courtroom at 9 o'clock on Thursday, though, whatever day it was. And we were like, he's got it all figured out. He's always on top of his stuff, he thinks. I didn't know he worked there, though. That's funny. Funnier.
Yeah, back when he was in hospital.
Well, we have cake and soon-to-be ice cream that we got to go mix up real fast.
We're mixed up. We gotta
Yeah, I got to freeze
Well,
it.
I'm sure I've overextended my welcome to all of us.
No, but what I was going to
apologize.
say is, Austin's still got the cameras rolling, right, Austin?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can you continue to ask questions.
I'll answer
Sandra and I
anything
will
anybody's got, but I don't have anything else to, from my perspective.
Sandra and I need to go upstairs and freeze.
Did you take a picture of all
Good
this
luck
with
with
him?
all.
It's too dark.
Probably too dark now, but we can do it tomorrow.
It is not too dark.
Yeah, I would like to have one of all of us.
Austin
I
says
will
no.
make one statement
All right, Hayden.
concerning her and her opinion. Y'all were asking how we met. We did meet online.
And it was answer to a prayer. And I see, I tell people it was answer to a prayer, and it really was. I've been single again 20 years.
She was praying to me, a Christian male. I was praying for God to send somebody just that I could relate to it, a Christian female. And so that night when I got home, it was like I got on that Christian Matchmakers. And that's probably I don't know, I might have looked at another one or two, but that was like right there at the top. And I said, wow. But when we got engaged, she wanted to call her dad, so she calls him. Now, he and I had really hit it off. He was quite a character, and we had really hit it off. And I had tried my best, kind of like y'all were hiding everything from me. I had tried to catch him when she wasn't around, but that was impossible. And so I said, well, let me talk to him. So I told him, Mr. Young, I tried to catch you before so I could run this by you, what I was thinking about. And he had a lot of dry wit, but he said what was on his mind, didn't matter what it was. And he said, well, I think everything's going to be all right. He said, Thomas and I checked you out real good, and I think it's going to be fine. I just cracked up. I couldn't help it. Of course, she had to know what he said, but that was so funny.
That
But
sounds like it.
God, you know, I've always tried to make God the ultimate. He's got to be the one that makes everything happen in our life. And don't forget that. You know, new generation coming on. A lot of people don't feel like way today. And I think it's a mistake. If it wasn't for God's blessings, a lot of things would not have happened. I can assure you of that. And I give him everything happened because of him. I'm convinced of that. And I'll think one more out. I probably have never said this. I remember a revival service when I was in the old Minor Hill Baptist Church. I had to be 7, 8, 10, 9, or 8, somewhere along there. And I remember this preacher came in and preached. Now I've heard this story a lot in the years since, but I heard this story. And he was telling it during one of his messages. And he was talking about a business person that put God first. And he promised God if you just let him be successful, he would always give him 10% of his income. And over the years, he gave 10, he gave 20, he gave 30, he got up to 90. And I don't know that I remembered who it was till years later, and I was reading the story. It was J.C. Penney that had that mentality, and it struck me as at a young age. You know, God requires promises as well. He gives to us if we're faithful. So I leave with that one. It's just embedded in my way of thinking, and I don't try to force it on anybody, but I do encourage it.